Cheers, buddy.
Hey, cheers, Anthony.
Danny.
I don't have my glass with me, but
Daniel
cheers.
Daou. Daniel
Cheers.
Daou of Daou. We're here at Daou during harvest, so we know that you're really busy. Again, like we were just talking, we saw you here early in the morning.
Yes, long days, but very rewarding for sure.
Well, like we said earlier, we were talking about the last time we did the interview with you on the podcast, and everyone loved it. I mean, that was one of the best responses we had at that point in time. It was great. Everyone really enjoyed you coming on. So when we decided to take things to video, we sat down and we chatted. We're in love with Paso Robles. You're a huge voice for Paso Robles, and we said, this makes sense. This is where we want to fly. We want to break out into video, and it makes sense that we sit down with you.
Awesome. I'm so glad you guys made it. It beats being on the Zoom call for sure.
Yeah, it does. It's
It
good
does.
to be out here.
And you can't beat this view. This is,
Thank you. It's it never gets old either.
I can't imagine.
I showed up this morning. It was beautiful. Everything was covered. The whole town, the whole area was covered with clouds. And right got to the mailboxes right here. We're the only peak standing above because we're the highest peak. And I took a picture, actually, a video, and I posted it as we mentioned before. And it just never gets old. I mean, you don't get tired of it, which is beautiful.
No, how could you?
And I've read about it. I've seen it. I've seen all the pictures. I've watched your Instagram. All of it. But it does nothing for
No.
it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're
Photos.
here tomorrow morning, come up at 6. It's worth it. It's a beautiful sight to see.
Drive
Yeah.
up here for six in the morning. And what's the address here so people know they can visit?
Yeah, so it's 2777 Hidden Mountain Road,
And
Paso Robles.
people should make a reservation because I've noticed a lot of people just showing up here and
So we're booked about 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
So I would suggest you do a reservation, make a reservation pretty early. Nowadays, it used to be that people had a very hard time reaching this place, but now it's so easy. All you have to do is get to a major airport like Dallas or Phoenix, Seattle, San Francisco, LA, and it's a quick hop to San Luis Obispo.
Yeah.
And it's a 30-minute drive you at the winery.
Yep.
So it's really easy.
yeah, that's how we did it.
Where did you just stop? Which city?
Dallas.
Dallas to
Dallas,
San
came
Luis
in through
Obispo.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dallas is a
Yeah.
quick flight all the way here.
Yeah, it was easy, and we go back the same way. So.
So there is a couple things that we wanted to talk about,
Yes.
for
Sure.
sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there's some fun things. We do really well with Daou products in our market. It's one of the best sellers. And Paso as a whole is starting to gain a lot of traction over the last couple of years. As some wine geeks, we really get into it. We've always really loved this region, the diurnal shifts, so many soil types. It's just a beautiful region to really geek out about, but it seems like everyone else is kind of catching up behind us.
Yeah.
But you're doing some really cool things that we can't get in our market, and you're wearing a hat for one of them right now.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
So let me first start by telling you that you're absolutely right. There's been a real revolution going on with Cabernet Sauvignon and Bordeaux varieties in America the last 5 years. And I have to tell you, the press, the critics haven't quite caught on yet. The consumers are catching on. I'm going to share with you 2 statistics that will probably make you stunned that that's actually happening. Are you ready for those?
Oh yeah.
So I'll start with the first one. Number 1 sold Cabernet Sauvignon in the luxury category today in the United States are Daou Cab. It sells for about $25. Who would have thought a cab from Paso could actually outsell a lot of other regions in the United States? But I'll share with you a more shocking statistic, which this one will really shock you. For 2 years in a row, our high-end wine, our flagship wine, the Soul of a Lion, has outsold every high-end cab from California besides one winery 2 years in a row in California. That tells you that the consumers are realizing that the quality that's coming out of here is very unique. The terroir here is very European. It goes beyond food and alcohol. It provides freshness, minerality, beautiful flavors, great concentration, and at an affordable price, which is something the consumers clearly are appreciating. So yes, truly there's something going on in America today that not only in America, but the whole world is realizing that this terroir may arguably be one of the best terroirs in the world for growing these varieties, and the consumers have really caught on. The critics are getting there, slower than the consumer. That's usually how it works. But I think some critics are realizing that as well. So you talk about Patrimony. So this is our high-end wine. It's when we came to Paso, we thought we can make a premium Cabernet Sauvignon that can compete with the world's best. And people laughed at us at first. They said, you guys are crazy. Paso will never compete with Bordeaux or Napa. focus on making a $10 wine. That's really what Paso is known for. And we looked around and we said, we don't get it. You have the perfect climate. You're 14 miles from the ocean. You feel the breeze all day. So we're actually cooler than Napa. We're warmer than Bordeaux, so we're right in the middle. You got soils exactly like in Bordeaux. So what's preventing this from being a great region? So we decided to focus on a premium wine, and we launched our Soul of a Lion, which is our first estate wine that we launched from here. And the world quickly caught on, realizing that there's something really unique going on here. So we then turned around and said, okay, there's something so unique here that we'd like to release even something higher end. So we released this new label called Patrimony. And I tell you, the reaction on the market has been amazing. Patrimony right now is slowly getting into the market. It's a very small production. It's also into many countries like Denmark, Hong Kong, Korea, UK. You find it in many different countries. And the world is really stopping and saying, we've never seen something like that. So it's a breath of fresh air, and I think it's the kind of wine that's going to elevate Paso to a whole other level still.
Well, I think you've touched on a couple of really important things throughout. First, when you talk about the two statistics that you threw out there, it makes a lot of sense that your Daou cab, the estate cab, is what it is. It is a beautiful wine. I think that you would, I think even you would agree that it's kind of elevated what Paso is. It's very luscious, it's elegant. It's not what you thought of when people thought of Paso wines, right? It's not that high fruit kind of Lodi driven big wine. It's elegant.
It shows
beautiful.
Sense of place.
It's, absolutely.
It is terroir.
It reflects terroir,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And then you talk about Soul of the Lion, which, we've done well with it since its inception. We've always, I think
I remember tasting it when you got the 100-point score. And
it's a beautiful wine.
And
really
I was
is.
just so blown away by it. It was a holiday show, a distributor holiday show.
Have you tried it when they're about 7 years old or so?
No, we never have time. They go so fast.
I know, but
I mean,
tell you,
sometimes I try to order and it's already out.
So the oldest vintage is 11 years old, and it's just amazing to try that wine because it shows you that the wine is so youthful still. It probably has 30, 40 more years left in it.
Wow.
And it just evolves into something beautiful. And the terroir here is very different than the rest of California. Most of California has 4 soils you find the vines on: clay, loam, sandy, and volcanic. None of these soils is really European. Most of the European soils tend to be calcareous clay. So there's some volcanic in Italy and places like that, but most of the soils in Europe tend to be the different soils, the same soils as we have here. What's so unique is that when you try our wines, after they're about 5 to 7 years old, you notice so much minerality that is very, un-Californian. It's not really typical Californian. I had 36 interviews with UK writers the last 2 months, independent interviews, and they all said the same thing when they tried the wine. And they're very critical, and they said, "Wow, we never expected that." Very European in a lot of ways, very mineral, fresh, not jammy and overly alcoholic. More restrained and more elegant. And that was really nice for me to hear because that's my style as a winemaker. I'm really trying, even though we have a lot of power here, the power is easy to come. The elegance is what I focus on.
I think the last time we spoke, we love your rosé. And I said, Danny, this rosé the color looks like Provence.
Correct.
And the style is definitely Provence. And we still sell tons of it. And again, Florida,
Sure.
So,
warmer weather.
but
sure.
I guarantee you, we sell way more cab, and we sell.
Well, what we do,
tons
it's
of
so
Bodyguard.
fun. It's one of my favorite things to do because you still have, and it's such a weird thing for us because I've preached the gospel of rosé forever. It's beautiful in Florida. That's what I like to drink. And you still get people a little apprehensive about it. You try this. This is going to be something like you've never had before. And then when it really gets fun is those, Provence. This is what I'm drinking. I'm drinking Provence. Well, all right, that's great. Try this next to each other. Tell me what you think. And we sell it next to that Axe of Provence.
Yeah.
Side by side.
And it's a beautiful bottle.
It's beautiful.
Right? So that's really great marketing by you guys.
Thank you. It's funny because the rosé market, until we launched our wine, was totally dominated by Provence rosés. I grew up in Provence, so I love Provence rosé. I like the style. I like the peaches that come out of the aromas. The glass. But until we launched our rosé, you really didn't see many California rosés really excelling, you know, in the United States. We launched our rosé for the first time last year, and in a matter of 3 months, it was the #1 sold domestic rosé in the United States. And
I mean, that's amazing.
and people ask us why, how. Well, that's because I made it exactly like the rosés are made in Provence. I didn't use Saignée juice. I didn't use all kind of different varieties. It was totally focused on Grenache, which gives you the peaches, the citrus, the beautiful, you know, aromas and flavors that you find in Provence rosé. The color, which is very light, and you know, it's got the beautiful acidity minerality that comes from soils that are similar to Provence. So it really is a beautiful rosé. I love drinking it. I love to chill it on a warm day. People ask me all the time what you like to pair it with. Almost anything, but I love it with grilled octopus. That's kind of where my heart is with rosé.
Right.
We'll have to try that this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I'm out here looking, sorry to switch gears a little bit, but as we kind of look over, we noticed something as soon as we got here, very interesting, and we see that it looks like you pruned your vines a little bit lower.
Correct.
Everything is you know, along the bottom end, and you've got them wrapped
Up, all covered up right now.
from the shade, from the
Yes.
sun, I would imagine. And so tell us about your technique in that a little bit.
Okay, so if you've been to France, you'll know that most vines basically are pruned, and the cordon is at about 18 inches. So when you have a lower cordon, there are many advantages with that. First, let's talk about the disadvantage. It's a lot more expensive to be sitting down, kneeling down, and working on each vine versus going around at your waist high and pruning. That's a lot less expensive. The problem is when your cordon is at 32 or 36 inches, which is very standard in California, yes, it's a lot less expensive to prune and work on the vines. But the canopy doesn't have a chance to go up, so it kind of goes left and right everywhere. You trap bugs, you trap mildew, you trap insects, it doesn't ripen evenly. You've got a lot of disadvantages with that. You're not able to build a beautiful hedge canopy that is actually provides the same amount of photosynthesis, which provides for more even ripening amongst the grapes. So when we go at about 18 inches, because we start at 18 inches, the canopy can be about 4 to 5 feet high, and then it is even all across. If you look at our vines, the canopy is very even. So the same amount of photosynthesis is coming there. The second thing it helps with is there's a direct correlation with a lower cordon, because you get more terrestrial radiation, you get earlier ripening, and therefore you get higher phenolics, so more color, more aromas, better structure. All that comes with lower cordon because you actually get more terrestrial radiation. So there are many advantages, which is why in France they do it much slower. In California, most cordon tend to be higher, again, mostly to save money and to use the canopy to protect from sunburn, which we don't need to because we use shade cloth to actually block 40% of the UV rays.
And you would still get, with the breeze up here, you'd still get mold and mildew and things like
Mildew pressure can be high here because we're only 14 miles from the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
You feel that wind, you know,
Yeah.
it blows all day.
Yeah.
So when you combine that maritime influence together with the lower temperatures, so we're one of the lowest temperatures, the highs in Paso. Matter of fact, it shocks people when I tell them that, but we see on the average 5 days a year reach 100 degrees here. Paso downtown will see 30. Napa, St. Helena will see 10 to 20. Calistoga will see more than 20. So we're actually quite a bit cooler. So that cooler temperature combined with the high elevation has really high mildew pressure. So we have to protect ourselves against mildew.
Are you the highest elevation in Paso?
We're the highest elevation vineyard in Paso.
You are. Wow. I mean, it is beautiful. I mean, it's stunning out here. I was thinking about phenolics, and can you explain a little bit so like people that listen to us and watch us can understand what that is?
Yes. So there's an objective way and a subjective way of looking at wine quality. The subjective way, we all know about it. You know, two critics could taste a wine. One critic may say, well, it's a 100 point, I love it. Another critic may look at it and go, well, no, it's okay, I'm going to give it a 92, right? It's very subjective. I like to look at quality in an objective way. And the way to do that is to measure phenolics. And what are phenolics? Well, when you take a glass of red wine, especially, there are three things that you do. First thing that you do is you look at the color. The second thing that you do is you smell the wine. The third thing that you do is you taste the wine. And based on these numbers, based on when you measure these three things, based on what these numbers come back at, it will tell you if the wine is balanced or not balanced, if the mouthfeel is disjointed or not, if the wine was over extracted or not with tannins, if the wine's got enough color, because color is texture, so that's very important. So why do we know that? How do we know that? Because we know, for instance, in France, in Bordeaux, where you have a lot of bad vintages and usually a couple good ones every decade, the good vintages tend to have more color, better aromas, better mouthfeel, better tannin structure for better ageability. So higher and balanced phenolics are correlated to superior wine. Well, what we found here is we have the highest phenolics we've ever measured on Bordeaux varieties on the planet, which allows us not only to make great wines that are very well structured and very balanced, but also allows us to over-deliver. So for instance, our Reserve Cabernet, which I'm sure you carry in your store,
Of course we do.
which sells for about, I don't know, in Florida, $50 or so?
A little less.
A little bit less.
Yeah, it's Florida.
$45.
We're a crazy
Yeah.
market, you know.
So that wine, for $45 or so, has more phenolics than every first growth, second growth, third growth I've ever measured from France, and more phenolics than 99% of every Napa cab that sells for more than $100. And it does that for $45. A wine that can age decades, that is uber balanced, very phenolic, but very nice color, for $45. So this superior terroir of ours allows us to provide the consumer a value that they cannot find. And all I can tell you, and please don't take my word for it, get yourself a bottle of the Reserve Cab, open up the best bottle of Cab you have in your cellar, the best one, the most expensive one you can find. Put them side by side on a glass, invite your friends, I do that all the time, saying taste both, which one do you think is better? We win 90% of the time, and we always show up on top. For $45, because the wine is made naturally, there's nothing added to it, there's no sugar addition, there's no acid addition, it's made in the most natural way, so finding a wine that's got these phenolics made in the most natural way for $45 doesn't exist. And it's a great value for consumers, which is why the wine does so well.
I couldn't agree more with everything that you just said. And I get criticized a lot on the podcast because I feel like the people that I have on, yes, absolutely, I love it. And there's a reason for that. We bring on the people that we love, that we enjoy. There's a lot of people who have asked to be on our podcast, and we quite frankly say no. And the reason is I don't want to be someone who's promoting something I don't love, that I wouldn't drink and support myself. So it is an absolute pleasure to hear you talk about these things with such passion. And I said it earlier, we chose Paso because we love it. And you're someone who's really leading the way, who has spoken so openly and driven about it. I mean, that was something we got out of the first podcast with you. You're very passionate about Paso.
Thank you.
And you know, it's breaking some of these stereotypes. And we, like I said, we see it in our store. That Reserve Cab, it outsells everything in its price range.
You know, we've seen this wave start in 2010 when we opened up our tasting room. I never forgot, you know, our tasting room wasn't even totally built yet. We had a little office, a makeshift office, where we started putting our first Reserve Cab at the time, which was a 2009 Reserve Cab. Now, it's not even Soul of a Lion, it's not even Patrimony at the time. And it was very interesting because nobody knew about us. We would open up the tasting room, and we would open up at 10 o'clock, and by 11, there would be one car that would come in, but the same thing would happen every time. By 2 in the afternoon, the parking lot was full, and I would ask people, how did you hear about us? And the answer was always the same. We were at this winery, and these people we met said they've tried a cab here that they've never tried. So we wanted to come taste. And then suddenly it went exponential. We would get people that would drive from everywhere and come here to buy our wine because we didn't sell it wholesale at the time. And they would try the wines, and I would always ask them, how did you hear about us? And the answer was always the same. It was like, so-and-so came here, bought a bottle of your wine, opened it for us. We couldn't believe this quality for the price. So we drove here just to buy this wine. That wave that started 10 years ago has been reverberating throughout not only the country but the world right now. You find our wines in 50 countries this year. And the message has always been the same. We've never tasted such quality for the price that you give. And it doesn't matter the price point. Even our Patrimony is a deal. At $275 a bottle, I can tell you because I own a lot of these wines. I dare you to open this wine and compare it to wines that sell for 4 or 5 times the price. There's no contest. So even at $275, we feel that we're providing a value to the consumer.
I think you're absolutely right. And the people that we've talked to about it have mentioned it in the name with some of these big, huge cult classics that you hear about but you never see, right? These ghost wines. and everyone that we talk to, this is better. This is better. And
You know, we have club members that shop with
Absolutely.
us.
Yeah.
You know, so
who have got to try it before we have.
they got to try some things before we had it, you know. So
We'll get you some. Don't worry about it. Drop me an email. We'll give you an allocation for Patrimony. It's
well,
small, but
you were kind enough to send us some of the Pinots that we don't have
yes.
in our market.
So what do you think of that?
Oh, they're
Unbelievable.
amazing. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
really
Unbelievable.
good. I
Thank you.
tried the one today too. That was really.
You gotta try
lovely.
the Petaluma Gap.
That's one of my favorites. That brighter.
So that's what we were
lighter.
just talking about.
So,
that-
so you know what? I gotta tell you, I'm fermenting it as we speak.
Uh-huh.
But I'm gonna take you after this, and I'm gonna have you try it from the tank.
Oh,
Rose petals. I mean, I love
Ah.
this wine. Just the aroma is like putting your nose into a basket or a bucket of rose petals. It's just so beautiful, so feminine and elegant and balanced. I love that. Now the other one that I sent you tend to be more Californian probably in style. They tend to be a little bit darker, a little bit, which I like as well.
Yeah.
But this one is so elegant that it reminds me of a beautiful Burgundy.
That's exactly
We were talking
the way
about
we
that
said
earlier
it.
today.
We said this is the most feminine of the two.
Yes.
Or, 2 or 3. I don't
Three.
know.
Three.
3 of them,
Three.
right?
Yeah.
It was the most feminine, the most elegant, just the most beautiful wine that you would want to enjoy with maybe even a little chill to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just gorgeous.
Yes, I love the chilled Pinot actually. Thank you for saying that. Sometimes you drink the Pinots, especially Pinots, a little too hot.
Yeah.
I like them a little bit on the colder side.
That's our curse as
Especially
Americans,
in a
right?
warmer weather, you know. In a warm weather, you want to have a little bit chilled Pinot.
that's
Yeah.
why you got to have a cellar or a cooler in Florida, man.
Yes.
Get those wines to the right temp.
Love Florida, by the way.
Yeah,
Looking
and
forward to spending more time there.
Well, Florida
yeah,
loves you.
Yeah, they love
Thank
you.
you.
That's for sure. You know.
Thank you.
We know you're busy. You have a lot to do.
Never too busy for friends.
Ah,
Never
that's
too
so
busy
nice.
for friends, really.
I appreciate it, but we do respect your time.
Thank
I really want to thank you again for coming on. I
Yes.
can't say enough great things about you and this. I mean,
Thank you.
here
Just the staff.
everyone
I mean,
here has been
that's the thing
phenomenal.
about Paso. Everybody is so nice.
You know, it's a beautiful
so
community.
friendly.
It is. It's
The
a
people that
beautiful-
we're renting our B&B from are just so
Oh, where are you
genuine.
staying
So,
at?
so right downtown Paso.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful community. You know, it's still very real.
Yeah.
And I think there are incredible wines being made across the board, not just for Cab, but even Rhones and other varieties that are really shining in this area. And I really think that, you know, Paso is putting incredible wines, you know, on the world map, not just nationally.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say one thing to everybody. All you Bordeaux hounds, you need to probably start buying futures in Daou and not in Bordeaux.
Agreed.
I would agree with that. Absolutely.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you so much.
All right, appreciate it.